Okay, good. All right. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming today. Lily, did you have some things that you wanted to say first?
Yes, I do. Give me a second. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this live workshop on the secret of success in visual effects. There will be a presentation by Sergio Gonzalez. I don't know if I spelled his name correct,
Yep,
sorry.
close enough.
During the presentation, feel free to ask questions via the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We're only going to answer them at the end unless they are like urgent, and then I'll stop you, Sergio, if they are important. But otherwise, we're just going to wait till the end and answer all the
Yeah.
questions. But feel free to start like typing them as we go along. I think for now that's all I have to say. So Sergio, if you want to start, feel free.
Cool. Thank you very much. Hello, I am Sergio Gonzalez. I'm the program leader for the BA in Visual Effects. Here's my little presentation. And so I'm here to talk to you about about the visual effects program, but also generally how to be successful. And really that just means planning. Really that just means planning. Really that just means using reference and approaching your work in a structured way. And so I'm going to assume that at least one or two of you haven't seen information about the overall program. So I'm going to start with that, but then I'm going to get into like a little bit of a case study of one of the projects that we do in the school, and then show you some student work. And this is all going to be related to how to consider yourself to be successful. So basically, so hi, I'm Sergio. I'm the program leader. Industry experience on feature films, a number of feature films that I've worked on as an animator and a visual effects artist. And but we have a big team, a team. So there's John Cox, who's a senior lecturer. There's Jonathan, and who's a technician and is also an experienced visual effects practitioner as well as GAAs and SLAs. So GAAs are graduate academic assistants. So our GAA is named Max, and she's very knowledgeable and can help you. And we have SLAs, so these are student learning assistants. And these are students who do well. So for example, our year one students now who are doing really well, who are being really helpful in class and being really proactive. In year two, we'll probably offer them a role, some hours a week paid to support the younger students. So when they're year two students, they will support year one students. And then when they're year three students, they can support the year two students. So, so one of the ways to be successful in the course is to participate, right? And to be helpful with your classmates and to be proactive in being in asking questions, right? We're very proud of the support that we offer in the school, in overall at Middlesex University. And so one of the most important ways to achieve success in university in visual effects course, but also in 3D animation and games and film or whatever course that we have, is maintaining contact with us and communicating with us and making sure that you are able to ask for help, right? A lot of times what happens is that people don't ask for help and then they get lost, right? So that's the most important way to be successful there, is to participate and ask for help. You may know this, you may not know this, but in visual effects, it's a term used to describe any imagery created, altered, or enhanced for a film or other moving media that cannot be accomplished during live action shooting. This is a shot from Avengers, right? And we can see that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on this film. For example, we have all of New York City that needs to go behind the characters there. We have the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo needs to be replaced by the Hulk, and Iron Man needs to be replaced with a computer generated Iron Man suit on there. So visual effects, there's a lot of work for a number of artists in this image alone, right? Let's look at another example here. This is a really good example from from a film that Frame Store worked on, which is a visual effects studio in London. And as you can see in this top image here, we have a number of elements that need to be replaced with imagery, right? So we have Hawkeye here peeking around a building and some people running away on a city street. But we also have these sort of blue walls. And these blue walls need to be replaced with buildings. So they're using computer generated 3D models, using 3D models and renders and Photoshop and whatever it takes to replace these blue plain buildings with buildings that are meant to be in London or New York or any city that's in there. Now, what does it take to be successful in either one of these, right? A bit of research is important, isn't it? A bit of research is important to know, okay, well, what is the camera angle that we're using? What is the lens of the camera? You know, we need to be able to communicate with our colleagues who shot the film. What is the height of the camera off the ground? At what angle is the camera pointing up or down? You know, how can we match the perspective of this camera view in order to be able to make this building model, which is not real, it's fake, how can we make that look like it's real? How can we make it convincing? So excellent work there done by Framestore. And visual effects is it's a unique blend. It's kind of a mix between 2D and 3D, compositing and using After Effects or Nuke. A lot of Photoshop, right? But it's also 3D. It's 3D modeling, it's rendering, it's doing simulations like smoke and fire and doing all of that kind of stuff. I have a question for you that you can pop into the chat if you're able to. What is your favorite movie or game? What made you interested in this topic in terms of computer graphics, visual effects, anything like that? Or what's your favorite game or anything like that? Pop it into the chat. What's actually inspiring you right now? So that's a way that you can be interactive with me. Okay, 95% student satisfaction on NSS. So we're very proud of this. You see, okay, in the third year, every student is given a national student survey. And we're very proud that every year that there's been measurements taken of our course, we've been over 90% overall student satisfaction on the National Student Survey. And so all you have to do is search Middlesex University Visual Effects NSS. And you can find this page here, discoveringuni.gov.uk, and you can see all the details about Middlesex University's visual effects course, okay? And I think one of the reasons why we're so successful is that we offer plenty of support. Okay, there's a lot of support. So for example, as you know, there's been a global pandemic for the past couple of years. And so immediately what we had to do was go online and for that time. And we had to still give our students a sense of belonging and a sense of community that they're working with not only by themselves in their bedrooms or in their dorm rooms or anything like that, but a real sense of community. And so we have a Discord server, and it was actually the students that suggested it. Here's what it looks like. It's a creative community, right? It's a community of practice. And we have, you know, a number of channels that people can join, right? And we have all of us, you know, all of the staff members in the chat as well, right? Here we have an example of two of the students sharing screen and supporting each other, and there were some other students in there. So this wasn't even a class session. This was a session where the students got together. We've got a year 2 student and a year 3 student and a graduate all together talking about this 3D model that one of the students is creating, right? And we can also do tutorials in our class session in our Discord server as well. We also use Zoom. We use whatever technology comes along that is useful, right? But this is what we've been doing. And so we can still do that. Oh, look at this. Even graduates are still hanging out in our Discord server because it's such a good community. All right. So how do you be successful in visual effects? Participate in the Discord server. Be a bit chatty, chat with other people, be friendly with your fellow classmates. So plenty of support in the sense of the Discord server. We can do tutorials that way. We can also do live tutorials because now the restrictions are lifting and we're able to go to campus. We've been going to campus all year this year. And so we are doing a lot of live sessions as well, right? We have every Thursday, we have something called Studio Day, which is especially for year ones, a session that is completely designed to have a class, like a normal class, but also after that, and that's before lunch, and then after lunch we have a activities every week, right? Where we say, okay, let's get the cameras out and let's teach you about lenses. Let's teach you about how to do some lighting. Let's teach you about how to use green screen and how to use the different tools that are useful to a visual effects student. Okay. Green screen, there's an example of green screen. Our poor Avengers are trying to dodge a very dangerous explosion. The explosion itself is not real. Someone had to use a 3D software to simulate that explosion, and the sparks and all the debris that are falling down. And then another visual effects artist had to replace all of this boring background stuff with cool city and explosions and blowing up stuff and lens flares and all of that good stuff. So there are a lot of different tasks. Okay. How else can we support? Live and recorded class sessions. So we have a common practice of recording our class sessions. So that way, if the student needs to, one way that you can be successful in any course that you take, whatever course you decide to take, is to take notes. Have a pad and paper, a pencil and paper next to you, so that way you can take notes and everything. But if you do fall behind and need to go back and revisit something that we've said in class, the recording is there for you. We have a big wiki knowledge base where you can find, just like the big companies do, we have a big knowledge base where we can find information. We have timetabled open support with technicians. So there's a time every week, kind of like office hours, where you know that you can find us and you know that you can get support with us. Okay. We're not one of those schools that just leaves you on your own. We connect you with a community of other students so you can work with each other and help each other. But we also have staff that, and certain times when you can get support with us. And tutorials when you need it. We often help out. In fact, today I did a couple of tutorials with students who needed help working on their final projects. And then we also have a lot of guest speakers who can share with you information about how to be successful in your job hunt, after school, after you get out of university. So that's pretty cool. We have graduates working all over the place. We have graduates working at Frame Store, Industrial Light and Magic, Moving Picture Company, Weave VFX. One of our graduates still just got a job working with Brandon B, who's a famous TikToker guy. So that's kind of fun. So our students, the good ones, the students who are successful in participating and asking questions and working hard, are getting jobs. We're a 3-year course. The course is designed to give you a guided tour of the relevant skills and tools of the visual effects pipeline. Very project-based, it's very practice-led, very hands-on, okay? So in year 1, we have 4 modules, which are modules like a class, you have to go to different classes. In year 1, we have compositing with After Effects, and we introduce a little bit of Nuke in there as well. Nuke being a piece of software, it's an industry standard piece of compositing software. In addition to that, we have digital matte painting, and we have 3D class where we're learning Maya, which is industry standard software. And then we also have a large final project that brings your skills together. This year, we're doing a group project where the students are building a sci-fi city. They're building a city together with lots of different buildings and compositing in elements of footage as well, which is really fun. The way to be successful in that project is to actually turn up and do your part on the project, you see. So that's important. In year 2, the advanced compositing with Nuke, that's it's more of a sense of, if you were going to work on one of the film projects, so we very regularly work on BA films. And in some cases there's some work that needs to be done by a compositor, and that's what we can do for them. So in kind of like a freelancer kind of way, right? In addition to that, we have creature modeling with ZBrush, Blender, Maya, Substance Painter, kind of whatever software is necessary in order to sculpt a creature, which could be an animal or a mythological creature. I'm going to show you some examples of that pretty soon. In addition to that, in year 3, what happens is we still support you. There's still the same level of support. There's still the same level of interaction with us, but you get a lot of choice in what you're doing in year 3. And so the idea is for you to research a job role, right? So if you want to be a compositor or a 3D modeler or an animator, you need to choose a job role and you need to research it and then start doing projects, small projects, to build up your skills in that area. And we require you to research the job role and look at the job advertisements, right? Actually have job advertisements that you can look at to see the required skills, to see the required level of software proficiency that you need to have and what you need to have on your portfolio. This is all supported very, very thoroughly by our guest speakers. We have a lot of guest speakers every year who can help you to choose the right projects to work on, so that way you can have the best chance of success after university. But of course, it's important to do the work, right? It's important to do the work to actually create a portfolio for yourself. Here's one more fun photo. This is from probably the movie 300, I think, or from the Immortals. And yeah, we have a bunch of people fighting. And of course, we need to replace this background green area with other people fighting, and mountains and smoke and mud being kicked about, which is quite fun. So there's a lot of work that I can show you. There's a lot of student work that I can show you. We're going to speak specifically about this project here, right? Which is a piece of work done by one of our first-year visual effects students a couple of years ago, who now has a job in industry. And but here are a lot of other pieces of work too. These are examples from our creature sculpting class, and we have beautiful 3D character models, fully rendered, fully textured, that are created using the latest and greatest techniques. And so yeah, it's just a bunch of work that you can see being done by our wonderful students. And we've got more examples here that we can show you, but usually students get excited by the 3D models. Here's some other work that can be done here, which is the what we do is we can add renders of 3D models into footage. So for example, the task on here, we got this piece of footage, and one of our students' goal was to add another airplane right here and to add in some cars and things like that. And so we can see here that this car that they added in, like this car, that's not a car, this airplane that they added in, you have to get the 3D model and you have to render it in such a way, and you have to integrate it using basically a fancy version of Photoshop to make it look like the shadow matches the other shadows. It has to look like the lighting, the direction, and the quality of the lighting is similar, is very close to the other objects that are in the screen as well. So that kind of thing is called compositing. That's very important. Yes, so I have a lot of, what can you do to be successful in this course, right? What can you do? So this is a lot about how to be successful, not in visual effects in general, not only that, but also how do you be successful in this course altogether? So if you want to join this course, what you can do to prepare is start really just being curious about the process, start really being curious um, about the work that's being done by visual effects artists and the different roles that are possible in a visual effects place, right? You don't want to only depend on us for all of your information. You want to be someone who's interested. You want to be someone who's engaged. Let's say that you wanted to go to the 3D animation and games course as well, and you were interested in video games. Is that enough to just play games? You need to be into the game creation process and already know about some general ideas about 3D modeling or Photoshop. Um, so to be successful in the visual effects course, you should go on YouTube. This is the homework that I give to all of you. The homework that I give to you is to go to YouTube and search VFX breakdowns. You're going to see a lot of examples there. You're going to see a lot of examples of famous films, big name films, and they're going to show you, much like these images up here, much like these images up here, you're going to see examples of the films before and after, right? And then all the layers in between. So, so I think you're going to really enjoy that. If you enjoy that, and if you look at those examples and say, oh, that's really interesting, I really want to know how they do that, then visual effects is right for you. It would be good if you did a bit of Photoshop, if you got into Photoshop, or even one of the free alternatives like Krita or Clip Studio. Clip Studio is not free, but one of those alternatives is also acceptable. You need to understand layers. You need to understand layers and a bit about how transparency works between layers and things like that. So just doing a bit of Photoshop would be good. And a little bit of 3D as well. So let's say that you're working in Maya or Blender, then you'll have a really good chance of success in the course, right? We find that the students who have done a little bit of this stuff and have already started to absorb these ideas into your into your um, mind, that that they're further along. Really, they take on these concepts and they're a bit more proactive than the students who come in who have never done any of this before. If you haven't done any of this before and you start the course, we find that the students who've never done any of it really struggle, really struggle. So if you're 18 years old, you're an adult, you can sign on to whatever course you want, but it's a good idea for success to have the curiosity to join in with one of these activities and take it on yourself. You're going to need a computer at home. Yeah, so that's the end of that for sort of introductory part of the presentation. At this point, if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat. I've got more that I can talk about. Look at all this stuff I have to talk about. But if you have any questions in the chat, or in the Q&A section, or you want to put them in the chat, then it's a good time to do it. It's a good pausing time. So that way I can take a drink of water or take a little bit of a breath. So any questions are welcome at this time. I'm just going to keep talking in case. And just a little bit about the production process and how each area sort of relates to the stuff that we create. Okay. I'm not sure what time we're supposed to end. I think we end at 5:45. So I'll go on a little bit longer. I can talk forever, but I'll go on a little bit longer on this and talk a bit about some of the production process and sort of the ways that we're able to complete our projects. And then after that, we will we'll look at some student work maybe. And but now is the time, if you have any questions, to start putting questions into the chat. Okay. Let's see. So projects usually have a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? If you're doing a film production, and a lot of our work is modeled on a basic film production, then we would have something called pre-production, and then production, and then post-production. If any of you have done any video production, then pop it into the chat. Say, yes, I've done some video production. Right. So how many people do we have? Yeah, we have some people. Okay, so pre-production, that's the planning stage, right? This is where you're doing some research, right? So for example, if you are doing a project like this, where you need to put new aircraft onto this aircraft carrier, wouldn't it make sense to research the types of airplanes that would go onto an aircraft carrier, right? Wouldn't it make sense to research the type of lighting and how the lighting affects that type of surface? Okay, so all that stuff's really important. So for example, for a project like this, where where this is a building on campus, this is one of our buildings on campus, it's called the Ritterman building. And one of our students went ahead and created a simulation, a digital simulation of an explosion, and composited that onto the screen here, onto the footage. And so it took a lot of research, right, to look at explosions, examples of explosions, to make sure that his looked realistic. Okay, and it goes on and on, all types of things like that, right? So you're looking at research, you're looking at reference, image reference, technical reference, right? How is this type of effect done? You know, you're looking at, you know, tutorials and stuff like that, but it's more than just kind of looking at tutorials. It's also looking at imagery and reference of the effect that you're intending to make. So that way you can say, oh, okay, well, I know what it's meant to look like, right? Professionals use reference. Even when you're drawing, if any of you are drawing or are good at drawing or enjoy drawing, you can definitely see a difference to people who are using reference to the people who are not using reference. The people using reference always have an edge. Then there's the middle of the production, right? There's the production element where you're actually doing the filming of the elements, and you're creating 3D models, and you're creating effects like explosions and things, and you're creating the animation of the 3D models, right? And all of that gets rendered, all of that gets turned into imagery and handed over to the post-production process, which is more colleagues who work in the building. And that has to do with editing and color correction and compositing. That's one of our main activities, compositing, which is really important to us. That's a bit of an oversimplified way to look at our process, isn't it? But we can see that it's always this. It's always a bit of planning and research, and then there's the doing, and then there's the making it presentable. Okay. And so, you know, no matter if you're making a 3D model, if you're doing an animation, if you're making a film, if you're writing a song, to creating a song, there's always this aspect of preparation, right? And then the doing, of creating of pieces, creating of elements, creating of assets, and then editing it together, presenting it well, and everything like that. In university, we add something else. We call it reflection. Okay. And so in the reflection portion, this is the written stuff, but what we do is we do it like a reflective journal. Have any of you done a reflective journal before? Pop it in the chat. Let's see, a reflective journal, right? So why did you make the choices? What reference did you use? A lot of times people, so let's take for an example, a bat or a dragon, right? What happened, or a bird. What happens is someone will try to make a 3D model of one of these things, but they won't look at a picture of that item, of a bird or of a bat. And then a lot of times they might get the wings wrong. The wings won't be believable because the finger elements of the wings won't be correct. So what reference did you use? But why did you make these choices? Like, let's say you were going to do a dragon. Okay. Okay. What kind of dragon? Right? Different cultures have different kinds of dragons. So are we talking about a dragon found in the Chinese culture? Are we talking about a dragon found in Eastern European culture? Which dragon is the kind of dragon that inspires you the most? Or are we start talking about the Komodo dragon, which is a real animal, which looks different from the fantasy dragons that we usually see in stuff like Game of Thrones and all of this other stuff, right? But it's a dragon nonetheless. So why did you make these choices? Also, in the terms of technical sense, what did you try and how did it go? That's an oversimplification, but you can say, but you are working in your reflective journal to say, okay, well, while I was working on this dragon character, I don't know why I thought of dragon, but because I'm always thinking of dragons. I think more projects need dragons in them. What did you try and how did it go? In terms of 3D modeling, what techniques did you try? How did you know to try that? Did you try a couple of different techniques? Was one better than the other? Why? Tell us why. It's easy for us to go and look at it for a tutorial on how to model something, but what's interesting to read in a reflective essay, in a reflective journal, is why did you make these choices? What about that? Because what's interesting about this is you. You're the interesting person. You're the interesting part of that project. Cool. I'm getting near to the end here, folks, and I don't see any questions yet. It's a bit sad. Right, so let's look at this, for example. So has anyone seen Blade Runner 2049? If you have, you'll know that you've seen that there is a scene in there where the main character is walking on this sort of industrial catwalk bridge place. And there's this giant holographic lady that he interacts with, that he has a conversation with. Okay. And it's a very interesting effect, right? It's very interesting. And we have a lot of sort of interesting sort of changes in scale here. We have him from this scale and we have the lady from a different scale, right? So one of our students, she decided that she wanted to remake this. She decided that she wanted to make this shot, right? As part of her projects. And so we asked some questions. What do we need to make? What are the elements that we need to create? And what should be the process of putting that together, right? And so what did we do? We researched things like force perspective, like camera angles, distance to camera. We looked at a number of different elements there. We gathered reference on different kinds of software, Maya, After Effects, Nuke, right? And we looked at some studies from behind the scenes of how the movie itself was made. Okay, this is what the student did. And then she did some pre-production. Look at this. She reverse engineered the shot by creating a storyboard. Okay, by creating a very rough storyboard, creating a plan, right? Because you need to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you don't know when you're finished, and you end up working forever, and not being able to structure the work that you've done. From then, she built out some very basic 3D meshes, 3D geometry, in order to be able to pre-visualize, to visualize the shot beforehand. And then we replaced that with some temporary models. And we started getting an idea of what it was that we needed to do, right? And the idea was that we were going to use a real person and a 3D, and actually two real people, but they were meant to look like they're very different sizes. And so we did some experiments, right? Well, she did some experiments. Excuse me. She did some experiments to try a couple of different scales, right? So because she's meant to look very large and tall, and he's meant to look smaller, and also he's meant to look like he's in a very vast space, a very large space. This is G107, so it's a room. This is one of our facilities inside of Middlesex University. And this is where we shoot a lot of our visual effects elements. And then the student did a matte painting, which is very simple, which is an image created in 3D, but with 3D renders, but also with some photoshopped elements. And through the magic of compositing, that wasn't it. Through the magic of compositing, put them together. So that way they look like they're meant to be in the same world together. And then she also did this shot as well. And so for a first year student, that's very successful. The successful part was doing the research and being very diligent about doing the work, about trying different things, and about going through the process, right? So very successful project there. And this person turned out to be one of our top students, right? Okay, I see a question in the chat. The question is from James. What's your favorite shot that you have personally worked on? Ooh, that's a big question. I worked on, I've worked on a bunch of movies. One of them was Happy Feet, okay? Happy Feet with the dancing penguins. And if you look at the trailer of the movie Happy Feet, you're going to see a little shot. You're going to see a shot of a penguin dancing. It's a little baby penguin, and he's going, "Don't push me, cause I am over close to the edge." And he's kind of dancing in a fun way. That's my favorite shot because it's probably the most fun thing. And it was the first shot that I had that turned up on the trailer for a project. So that was very fun for me to work on the animation for that shot. I'm kind of done talking, so I would like you to now ask me any questions that you have. Do you have any questions for me about the course, about the school? Cool. We'll give it just a couple of minutes, and if there aren't any questions that come up in the next minute or two, then we'll go ahead and close the session. But while we do that, we'll just page through some of the fantastic student work that has come out of the university, including this mermaid that you've seen here. This is one of our students, same student who did the previous project. This is a typical way of presenting a project. Here you can see the wireframe, right? You can see all the different polygons that make up this 3D model. Fantastic work there. And then there's also this project here, which is from a movie called Pan's Labyrinth. So she recreated that creature from Pan's Labyrinth as part of her year 2 project. Very nice, very nice. And we also have this project here. This is Regina. She's also working in the industry, which is great. And we have, let's see, does this play? It's your show reel. So this is some of the project work that she's done, creating different assets and different 3D models for the purpose of, this is actually her World of Warcraft character. If you know the game World of Warcraft, this is her character. And she said, you know what, I want to make my character in 3D. And so she got to have the fun of doing this amazing thing that she was interested in and got a grade for it. Not too bad, I think. Absolutely great work here. And the last one here is another one of our great students who created his World of Warcraft character, this giant orc guy, and did a great job creating him as well. So this kind of thing isn't done at the last minute. You can't do this kind of work at the last minute. You have to spend a lot of time practicing this stuff in order to be successful. You know, this stuff isn't done the night before. This stuff takes days and days and days to get right, weeks and weeks.
Hi, Sergio. It's
Hi.
Natalie.
Hi.
Hi. I just joined. It's been great listening to you. What I would say to your audience is if they wanted to see the campus or they've got any further questions, we've got an on-campus event on Thursday starting at 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock. So they're very welcome to come up to the university then as well.
Excellent. Great. Yeah,
yeah.
there it's definitely a great opportunity to go and see the campus. So that way you can see the amazing facilities that we have. We have lots of rooms full of computers. We have lots of great equipment, lots of great facilities. And yeah, so that's a wonderful idea to go and do that. Cool. Natalie and Lily, I'm not seeing any questions, so I think it's probably a good time to end the session at this time.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's fine. Thank you, Sergio. Thanks very much this evening. What I would say is this has been recorded. We will edit it afterwards, and in about a week's time, they will get the recording for it, and we will share it with you as well, Sergio.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for coming, and have a great evening.